But yeah, I read other novels by Stephen King. I read The Dark Half. I would say that was probably the best of his books. I really enjoyed reading that one. Um, so then another book I picked up was Interview with the Vampire. Really liked that book. That was a good book, but I don't like the movie. I didn't like the movie at all. Even the book was a bit. I wasn't really that into the book, but it was good literature. That's for sure. It had good literature, and it was good for a beginner like me that was getting into reading novels and all that stuff. But let me think. After that, what did I get into? I started reading Lord of the Rings. I read the Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, and the Two Towers. I tried reading the Return of the King. I may have read about a tenth of that, but not much. And it started with my granddad. He bought me the Fellowship of the Ring book, and he signed it at the beginning, like on the front page. He said, he wrote to Matthew, "May you enjoy this book as much as I." And I guess he read that book and he liked it. He was a fan. He liked the book. I'm not sure if he saw the movie though. I think he did. Come to think of it. But yeah, I read that book and it was awesome. Read the Two Towers, and what was cool too was when the Lord of the Rings came out, was it would come out on like the 21st or 18th, and I would see it each year for my birthday. So that was cool. But yeah, so then after that, I was like 14, and didn't have anything to read, so I thought, well, I liked Lord of the Rings, so maybe I'll read into fantasy books, with elves and dragons and hobbits and all that stuff. So I went to the bookstore and I went ahead and started looking at books, and I looked at Forgotten Realms. I tried looking at a couple of Forgotten Realms books, but way too advanced for me. I wasn't into the detail that they would go into. So I checked out the Dragonlance books, and I really enjoyed reading Dragonlance. That was really cool. And I remember one book I read by Dragonlance was on a character named Damon Grimwolf. So that was cool. Um, After that, I read a couple of biographies. I read a biography on Jimi Hendrix. That was a pretty cool biography about a friend of his. I forgot her name, but she writes a lot of good stuff about him, about what really happened and how he was. Uh, I read Janis Joplin's auto. I mean, it was an autobiography. It was a biography, and that was okay. She's from Texas, like from eastern Texas. Um, Read the John Lennon biography, and then I started. Then that's when I started getting into wrestling, WWE, and I was 15 and a half, and I got back into watching wrestling again. So then I bought the Hollywood Hulk Hogan book, autobiography, and that was a really good book, and that was pretty big too. I think it was about 500 pages, and I enjoyed reading that one. Uh, I read a Forgotten Realms book, which was about Drizzt, the Sojourn, or something like that. The first one, whichever one it was called, I don't know. But that was a pretty good book. Uh, by then I was 17, and when I was 17, I read a few books. I read read about 6 books on the history of America and different explorers. What else? I read No One Gets Out of Here Alive, which was based on Jim Morrison. That was a pretty good book. Um, and I think that was about it for 2007. Then in 2008, I started reading some like the Bible. Definitely got dove into that. Started reading like Christian books by different pastors around the world. Uh, and those were really good books to read about, because I didn't even know much about that. And after that, that was about it. After that, now I just read a little bit of everything. Right now, I'm reading a couple of wrestling autobiographies, one by Chris Jericho, the other by Hulk Hogan, which is his second autobiography. And this one talks about his life outside the ring. And another book, I'm about to finish those ones pretty quick here. And right now, I'm about to start reading Bear Grylls facing up about him climbing up Mount Everest. So that one's a pretty good book. I think I'm on the third chapter. It's pretty good so far. And when I finish it, I'll keep you all updated on what I think about the book. And I may even start doing reviews on books, that I read. I'm gonna do a review on it. And anyways, thanks for watching. But also something that I want to add is after I finish reading Bear Grylls, I might read a couple others books after that because my brother's got those books. So maybe I'll read it. Depends if he lets me borrow it or whatever. But if not, um, I'd like to read The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo for sure. I'd like to read that book because they're coming out with the second and third installment for the movie, which I thought it was a good movie, and so I'd like to read the book on that. I'd like to read the entire trilogy if that's possible. I want to read the second one before the second movie comes out, so I know I'll be able to do that. After that, I don't know what I'm gonna read. Probably maybe more non-fiction books. I'm done with fiction. I've read enough fiction books, so I think I'm just gonna read non-fiction from now on, basically.